各位觀眾大家好，歡迎收睇26分鐘見證實錄。卑詩教育及兒童保育廳今年夏天嘅時候頒布新規例，要求全省嘅中小學強制配備自動心臟除顫器 AED 以及納洛酮急救套裝。呢一項嘅政策係源自溫哥華Point Grey中學嘅一班同學，佢哋喺2022年因為失去咗一位因為心臟驟停而去世嘅朋友，繼而倡議相關嘅措施。咁等我哋一齊去深入了解當中嘅故事啊！
So about 3 years ago, tragically, a student at Point Grey had passed away. He had a sudden cardiac arrest, and there was no automatic electronic defibrillator at the school.
We had several incidents where kind of people were questioning the validity of what we were doing and the validity in general of like the actual AEDs.
有時候作為大人嚟講咧，我哋應該係去支持年輕人去做呢啲咁嘅事情。
When you take money from one area, it takes away from programs in classrooms, and we already know that in Vancouver, we're very cash-strapped.
So starting this year, we're implementing mandatory AEDs in all high schools, as well as CPR learning.
The imposing of mandates without providing adequate support or funding, not acceptable.
I didn't want his death to be in vain. I didn't want what happened to him to happen to another student again. I remember the day we got this AED.
I know.
That felt like unbelievable and everything.
When was the first time that we got one though?
I think it was up there when we took a photo.
Oh right.
Is it
Like
the
when
same
we.
one?
Yeah, this is the first one we got.
Yeah, this is the first one.
Really?
Okay,
Yeah.
so
This is the first one we got.
睇住手中呢一部由佢哋親自發起捐款買嚟嘅心臟除顫器 AED， Tobias 同佢嘅同學都難掩激動同埋自豪。佢哋係溫哥華 Point Grey 中學嘅12年級學生，而呢一切都要從2年之前嘅一場意外講起。
Well, this entire thing started because one of our friends actually passed away due to a cardiac arrest at school. This was, I believe, at the end of 2022. Yeah, that was when we were all in grade 9. We were at a basketball tryout, and then he just went outside to grab some water, but then his heart just stopped beating, right? So it's a cardiac arrest, and then we found him and we called the police. The paramedics came, but then they asked us first to go to find an AED, which was supposed to be at London Drugs. A few of us went to try to find it, but then we couldn't return before the paramedics came back. So they came back and then they tried to revive him, and they couldn't. So it just made us think, why was there not an AED in our school when my friend needed one to survive, when it's supposed to be in every other public place?
同伴嘅突然之間離世，令到呢一班嘅少年第一次面對校園裡面嘅急救缺口，一個關乎生死嘅空白。佢哋開始追問，但係答案就比想象之中更複雜。Tobias 同同學決定唔再等待，佢哋要靠自己嘅力量籌款去買呢一部心臟除顫器，並且捐俾學校。
Krispy Kreme does this thing where you can buy donuts in bulk if you have sort of an organization, and we did that, and when we started selling the donuts in booths around the city, so in downtown, in SkyTrain stations, that kind of stuff, and we were making good money, so we could buy an AED. That's what we did.
而呢一班學生嘅行動，亦都得到咗溫哥華校區家長諮詢委員會嘅大力支持。
Last September, the students came to me to help them launch this initiative. They were told that there's no automatic electronic defibrillators in Vancouver because the school district couldn't afford it. So they came up with an initiative to fundraise to put in AEDs at every school in Vancouver. And so to help them launch that initiative, I went to the bakery and gave them a speech to tell them how proud of them we were and how we as parents value their advocacy because we are learning from our kids now, and that those kids can set an example of the right thing to do, which was standing up for your friend, making a point to the adults, and making their voices heard for a good change to benefit the future. And I supported that wholeheartedly. So we used all of our communication channels at Vancouver DPAC to broadcast their initiative for fundraising for automatic electronic defibrillators throughout the year.
而佢哋嘅行動就引起咗本地青少年社企 Pod Global 嘅注意，聯合始創人伍家星同 Tobias 取得聯繫，鼓勵佢哋繼續努力並且承諾提供支持。
咁當其時，佢已經係同我打俾我問，其實呢件事情 O 唔 OK 嘅，可唔可以繼續去進行啊？咁因為我做過好多關於學生呢啲咁嘅組織，我就話冇問題，因為道理喺我哋嗰邊。你做一件係非常之正面同埋有意義嘅事情，係幫助到好多唔同嘅學生，你就繼續去做啦。咁呢個係其一啦。咁其二就係到咗某個階段，我哋係去到學校局嗰度去開會，同埋去同佢哋去分享，或者同佢哋要講點解 AED 係一件非常之有重要嘅事情啦。
2024年11月18號 ，Tobias 同佢嘅同學參加咗溫哥華教育局舉辦嘅公眾諮詢會，正式向教育局提出訴求，希望喺整個校區推廣 AED 設備。
We'll now hear from our first group, who are Tobias Zhang, Disha Chatrath, and I'd please ask you to introduce yourself and pronounce your names for us, and also Muriel Staugard for Students for AEDs. If you'd like to come up to the front there, we have a microphone waiting for you.
與此同時，佢哋一班學生亦都終於籌得足夠嘅資金，購買咗第一部心臟除顫器，並且計劃捐贈俾學校。但係挑戰仍然未結束。
Okay, well, this is the first AED that we've ever got with the money that we've fundraised from, selling donuts and everything. And we tried to give this AED to this school. So we walked into the principal's office with this AED in hand, and we said that we have this AED ready. We are ready to install it in the school. We're ready to donate it to the school. And then they said no. They said the VSB and the principal said they will not take this AED, and then they refused us, basically. We just felt like it didn't make sense. It was unfair. It was putting students' lives at risk. If you're not going to accept a life-saving piece of equipment that the school was missing, and you're just prolonging the risk. You're just adding more risk into. What if another student had a cardiac arrest while the school was refusing this, and we could have had this device in the school when that student needed it, right? So we just thought it was putting students' lives at risk. It just didn't make any sense. It was unfair. But then we continued to keep fundraising, and also there was a delegation meeting in the VSB that we attended to try to convince the chairs to let us fundraise for AEDs. And then after that, the news picked up.
Zhang's friend collapsed.
The body of my friend just lying on the ground. He was making this noise called an agonal breath, which is like this body's automatic response to a losing oxygen, just trying to breathe.
None of us are super duper interested in this publicity and the spotlight. We kind of just we care, and I think just having people in the community see that oh, we care, even just saying, hey, this means a lot, that's our big moment, I think.
事情逐步發酵，最終喺2025年嘅1月27號，溫哥華教育局喺公眾會議之中再次討論到相關嘅動議。
I would move that the Vancouver Board of Education advocate to the Minister of Education and Childcare. And in January, we discussed the motion, and I brought forward a motion to have our school board to advocate to the provincial government to fully fund AEDs, not just in Vancouver district schools, but all over the province. And I also brought forward a motion to bring a motion to the BC School Trustees Association, which is a provincial body made up of trustees from every single school district in the province, to ask that group to also lobby the provincial government to fund AEDs across the province and fully fund and fully implement it.
溫哥華教育局學務委員會經投票決定，向省府申請25萬元嘅經費，用於為校區內所有107間學校安裝心臟除顫器。如果省府未能夠撥款，教育局就表示將會動用應急基金，確保校園安全措施得以落實。與此同時，一班嘅學生亦都冇停下腳步，佢哋通過各種嘅方式繼續籌款，為推廣心臟除顫器貢獻自己嘅一分力。
We fundraised in total, just also including other means other than the donuts. We have fundraised a total of $13,000 that we've donated to the VSB.
而一班學生持續為校園安全倡議努力，亦都得到咗省長尹大衛嘅關注。最終喺今年嘅夏天，省府發布咗政策更新，要求全省所有嘅中小學配備心臟除顫器，並且提供心肺復甦術嘅培訓，咁正式將校園安全提升至制度化保障。
So starting this year, we're implementing 8 mandatory AEDs in all high schools, as well as CPR learning. We know this is important life-saving equipment and education for students, and we want to make sure that it's there for them in the event of an emergency.
根據教育廳嘅規定啊，全省所有嘅中學咧必須喺今年年底之前完成配備 AED 同埋納洛酮套裝，而小學則需要喺2026年嘅9月之前完成。呢一項政策推行嘅同時，又隱藏住啲乜嘢嘅挑戰同埋隱憂呢？我哋下一節翻嚟再睇。歡迎翻嚟節目時間。今年嘅1月喺同 Point Grey 呢一班中學生多次會面之後，溫哥華教育局率先通過咗全區性嘅 AED 政策。咁現時教育廳就更加將呢一項嘅政策推廣至全省。但係執行嘅過程係咪真係好似表面上咁順利呢？面對住現實嘅困境同埋外界嘅質疑，教育廳又會點樣回應呢？我哋繼續去了解下。卑詩省府喺今年嘅秋季開學之前宣布新規定，要求全省所有嘅中學必須喺今年年底之前完成安裝心臟除顫器 AED， 以及配備納洛酮套裝。而小學就需要喺2026年嘅9月之前全面落實。對於呢一項政策嘅推動，溫哥華校區家長諮詢委員會主席程美麗就表示，呢一重要成果嘅背後，離唔開 Point Grey 中學學生 Tobias 同埋其他同伴持續不懈嘅努力與堅持。
And many times doors were slammed in their face and they got a no response. But they still pursued their advocacy. And because of their persistence, not only did all of Vancouver benefit, because we will now see automatic electronic defibrillators at all school sites in Vancouver, but it's now become a rollout for the entire province. So we are incredibly grateful to these talented students.
而溫哥華進步選民聯盟學務委員馬陳小珠亦都對學生嘅努力表達高度肯定。
The students that came forward, they were courageous and brave, and they showed real leadership in trying to bring something that would save not just lives at Point Grey, but at every other school. So I applaud their efforts. They also, I believe, won an award at the school for community service, and these are the kind of student leaders that we want to see in Vancouver. And I would say that the students' voices are important. And trustees need to listen to those student voices as well as parent voices. Parents are important too, right? And so when they come to the school board and they ask for things, there's always valid reasons. And as a trustee, it's our job and our responsibility to look after our students, and we need to listen to what is being suggested.
不過，馬陳小珠亦都指出，呢一項省府出台嘅強制措施，對溫哥華校區嚟講，卻係喜憂參半。
So it was quite a surprise when I found out just a couple of weeks ago that the province had decided to suddenly mandate the funding, or not to funding actually. That's the part that was not given. It was basically saying a blanket statement that AEDs need to be in all school sites across the province. And then it's up to school boards to decide how they're going to fund and pay for these AEDs. So the issue for me, of course, is that it's one thing to say, yes, we need these life-saving devices in every single school building, not just school sites, but buildings where school board employees work. But now school districts are going to have to scramble to find money in their capital budget and their operating budgets to fund these machines and these devices in schools. So for example, in Vancouver, it's going to cost over $200,000 for the initial implementation, and I don't know how much it will cost to do ongoing training And also these machines have a shelf life, so in a certain period of time, we're going to have to, again, put money into funding for new machines.
馬陳小珠強調，面對龐大嘅財務壓力，溫哥華教育局早已經向省府申請全額經費支持，但係至今仍然未收到明確嘅回應。
Well, we asked to have full funding. We didn't get full funding. I think the lobby continues. I think we need to continue advocating, right, to get that funding. Because remember, when you take money from one area, it takes away from programs in classrooms. And we already know that in Vancouver, we're very cash strapped. We're always looking for money. We have students that have needs that are not being met, and we're trying the best that we can. So every cent counts. And if this is a life-saving measure, it's a health and safety measure, it's a provincial matter, and it should be of interest for public good. So the money should be there.
對此，卑詩教育及兒童保育廳長畢麗莎就表示，省府推出嘅新政策旨在進一步保障全省中小學生嘅師生生命安全。佢認為各校區喺落實 AED 相關政策嘅時候，經費一般唔會構成主要阻礙。
So the vast majority of districts were already doing this great work, and I want to thank you for that. 97% of districts already had AEDs in some of their schools, and 85% already had naloxone in some of their schools. So what we're doing is filling that last gap and asking districts that don't have it to step up and do it. Traditionally, AED purchases are done out of operating budgets, but like I said, the vast majority of schools have already been doing that work, and boards are able to use a number of funding pots to access and purchase those devices.
而對於省府嘅做法，卑詩保守黨教育事務評論員 Lynn Block 就表示並唔認同。
The safety of students and staff is, of course, our priority in our conservative government, but the imposing of mandates without providing adequate support or funding, not acceptable. Safety measures like AEDs, CPR training, naloxone training, they're extremely important for protecting students and staff. But expecting already cash-strapped school districts, and they are cash-strapped because they had to balance their budget, to shoulder these costs without giving a clear implementation guidelines, ongoing support, funding is unrealistic and unfair. And some districts have very few AEDs or none, while others are okay, and they're expensive.
除咗經費挑戰之外，家長們亦都非常關注呢啲安全設備喺實際操作之中係咪能夠真正發揮到作用。
It's an incredible milestone that the kids have accomplished, it's definitely significant, but the work is not yet done. This is just a step. We know that there will be challenges in the rollout of the automatic electronic defibrillators and the CPR training. And we know that there's going to be significant challenges in the rollout of the naloxone kits. Because with those naloxone kits, there's no training provided. And we are deeply concerned that without the training, the kits will be not as effective as they are intended to be.
Besides the financial burden to some school districts more than others, and especially those districts that are underserved right now and struggling to provide the programs and the staff, where's the staff training coming from? Where is that money coming? And those professionals who are experts in those fields, that is a major consideration. Teachers and support staff need proper certification and ongoing refreshers to ensure that they are confident and competent in using AEDs and administering CPR in an emergency. So right now, who is going to train the staff and who is going to train the students in PE 10? Where in PE 10? The health part? Are you going to bring in people who are experts in that field? Or are you going to train staff and they're going to teach the students? Where is this going to happen?
Lynn Block 亦都提到，相關設備嘅日常維護，亦都係目前各中小學面臨嘅一大挑戰。
It's great having them, but AEDs require regular checks by certified people. They need battery replacements, they need pad replacements, they need servicing to remain reliable. And this responsibility often falls on the already busy and overworked school staff. So where is it in this mandate where staff are supported and where are students supported? I think it's lovely to do. I do for the students. However, as a person in grade 10, how would they feel? Would they feel that confidence to be providing if someone falls in the basketball court and clutches their chest? Would they know to do an AED? Would they, in that moment of panic, be confident? I don't know. So staff training, student training, equipment maintenance, and the financial burden to school districts. I think those are the particular challenges right now that I see.
對於外界嘅各種質疑，不麗莎回應表示，省府推出嘅政策並非紙上談兵，而係有明確嘅落實計劃。
We work closely with the districts to make sure they have them, and that those who don't, we put in the mandate to make sure that we fill that gap and that every district has it. But we work closely with the districts on that individual basis to make sure we're supporting them and to make sure that they have these life-saving pieces of equipment in their schools. The CPR learning and AED learning will happen in physical education and health curriculum 10. So students will be learning about this in grade 10. These are pieces of life-saving equipment that most people assumed were already in place in a school environment. Parents, community feel that schools are hubs and that they have these pieces of equipment in it. So we want to make sure the equipment is there in the event of an emergency, that people are able to access it and use it to hopefully save lives.
同時，佢亦都對 Point Grey 中學呢一班積極推動學校安全政策嘅青少年表達高度讚揚。
I want to thank the group of students who've done amazing work in advocating for AEDs in schools. It is absolutely devastating for anyone to lose a friend in a school, and devastating for the families, devastating for the school, devastating for the friends, and for them to turn tragedy into this advocacy and to do that work and to really promote that safety in schools and in community has been fantastic, and I want to congratulate them. I want to thank them for it. I'm very happy that we're putting in this mandate to ensure that these pieces of life-saving equipment are available in schools where they should be.
而對於目前政策落實嘅情況，最初發起運動嘅呢一班學生就坦言，佢哋嘅訴求其實好簡單，希望可以所有嘅中小學生都能夠喺安全健康嘅校園之中學習，避免悲劇重演。
I remember having a conversation with someone about the fact that we were prepared to, I think, do this after high school, and if it really was going to take that long, that we were just going to keep going. And I think there's definitely still a lot more work to be done in terms of how far this project can go. I don't think the safety of students is ever something that people should stop caring about or stop, reassessing. How can we, make schools safer for kids and stuff?
Because I was really good friends with the boy who passed away at our school, so it's just that I wanted to, honor his legacy. I didn't want his death to be in vain. I didn't want what happened to him to happen to another student again.
好啦，今集嘅節目時間差唔多啦。咁如果觀眾對我哋嘅節目有啲乜嘢意見嘅話，係好歡迎大家以電郵嘅方式同我哋聯絡㗎。我哋嘅電郵地址係 mag26@fairchildtv.com。如果觀眾想上網重溫今集嘅節目，亦都可以上到去我哋嘅網站3w.fairchildtv.com， 點擊節目重溫一欄就可以睇得返㗎啦。下星期同樣時間再同大家見面，晚安。